we're now going to turn our next presentation just a couple minutes early, but I know that Jon Sarver can use up the time appropriately. So go ahead and take it away, Jon.
Well, thank you, John. And today I'm going to talk about my two rooftop systems. And I'm in Meridian Township and on the Environmental Commission there. We have a climate action plan, and also that includes a goal to have 100% of the township's electricity come from renewable energy. So I'm going to talk a little about that. And then the Meridian Township, the 4 arrays that are part of that effort. Let's see. Now, having a hard time moving my slides forward for some reason. Oh, that worked. Okay. Well, like I said, I have 2 rooftop systems, and back in 2010, my shingles at that time were about 20 years old. So I thought, oh, I'd been eager to get a solar system up, but I realized that I wanted the roof to, be fairly new to do that. And so I ran into a company, Luma Resources from Oakland County, that actually started as a roofing company, and they diversified into solar. And so I got a roof integrated system, a fairly small system, 1.26 kilowatts. And I got in on the Consumers Energy ERP, which was a feed-in tariff pilot. So all my power from that system was being sold to the utility. I had a 12-year contract, which is ending next year. And since I got into the first round, they were paying me 65 cents a kilowatt hour, which was fantastic. They only did that for 1 round and then realized they didn't have to pay that much. Back then, the system, the small system, still cost me about $9,000, but I was getting paid so much from Consumers Energy that actually I ended up with a 9-year payback. Then in 2019, I was thinking, boy, net metering's coming to an end. The 30% federal tax credit was going to go down. If I'm going to put in some more solar, because I only had a fairly small system, this was the time to do it. So I ended up contracting with Absolute Solar, who put in a 2.17 kilowatt system and got in just in the nick of time with the Consumers Energy net metering program. Now, this is a slide of my roof integrated system. It was polycrystalline, kind of unusual because, again, it was a roofing kit. It was 21 60-watt panels, so a lot different than what you hear from almost everybody. I had a real good southern orientation. And like I said, I was going to put in a new roof at the same time. Now, on the picture toward the bottom there, you can see the shading, because at that time I had a big maple tree in my front yard. And so I basically got a fairly small system and put it toward the peak of my house, as you can see. And that means it's real hard for me to get snow off of that. So I just wait for the sun to kind of melt the snow. Now, like I said, I was looking to, if I'm going to put in some more solar, this is the time to do it. And so I had a number of considerations. One reason I got the roof integrated system was I liked the aesthetics. It just kind of blended in nicely. I was sensitive about the idea of having 2 different types of systems and how they might look kind of odd. So what ended up happening is I had this fairly high portion of my roof. The orientation wasn't super, but there was no shading. And really, you can't see pretty much both systems at the same time. So I like that part of it. Now, the picture to the left is actually what was proposed, which, as you can see, we're looking at 10 panels that were proposed. That was not approved by Consumers Energy for net metering because they said it would actually produce too much power, more than I could use over the course of a year. Well, their calculation wasn't actually accurate. Because the systems I ended up getting provide about 80%. And what I ended up doing was getting 7 310-watt panels And I didn't feel real bad about that because the 4 panels you see have a southeastern orientation, so the production is pretty good. But those 6 panels are really kind of facing toward the northwest, and the production wouldn't have been that good. And so when that got cut down to the 3 panels, I didn't feel bad at all. That, you know, again, I'm estimating I'm going to get about 80% of my power from the 2 systems. Now, one thing I'll point out is if you notice the picture to the right, there's a big pine tree kind of back there. And when I first put in the first system, I was thinking, well, that's a real mature tree, and I didn't have to worry about it. But it kept growing, and so the original system is getting some shading. And since it was put in 2010 and had one of those string inverters, and no optimizers, no micro inverters, basically I have lost some power from that original system. The new system does have the micro inverters. Now let me talk a little about my township. We did a climate sustainability plan back in October of 2017, and that included a goal of 100% renewable energy for electricity for township operations by 2035. And so the way we developed the plan was we took credit for the amount of renewable energy that would be coming from consumers' energy that's estimated or predicted in 2035, and that would be 40%. Best guess. And then we thought, you know, really for township operations, we need to do a lot of energy efficiency. And energy efficiency is better economics. It's just the first thing you want to do. And the township had done a lot, but we knew we could do more. And so that left us with, we would need 30% on-site solar, which we estimated would be about 400 kilowatts. So where we are so far is we've got about halfway there. And I'll show you some pictures of these 4 buildings in a minute. Our first one was at the municipal building, a 20 kilowatt system, so we could get into the net metering, because the net metering for the true net metering with the one bill credit, you have to be 20 kilowatts or smaller. Then a couple of years later, we did our one of our fire stations. Actually, you can see 36.5 kilowatts. That provides about 35% of the power that's used at the fire station. Actually, that 20 kilowatt system at the municipal building only provides about 8% of the power. Now, we did put a smaller system in at our farmers market that provides there isn't a lot of power needed at the farmers market. So that 3.8 kilowatt system provides about 100% of the power. And then most recently, we put in a 142 kilowatt system at our service center, which is the Public Works garage. And then next, what we're planning to do is to put in more solar at the kind of the municipal complex, which in addition to the township hall, includes the public safety building. And so we're kind of figuring out, us being the energy team, which works with the township and the township staff, what best to do. Oh, here's the 4 installations so far. The one up in the top left is that 20 kilowatt system that I mentioned. You can see the township hall to the back, to the left. And, you know, the fact that it was a ground mount, of course, enabled us to get a pretty good orientation. And of course, we can brush off the snow, although I don't know if the township staff is doing that. But one nice thing about it, especially since it was our first system for the township operations, was this is on the most heavily traveled corner in the township. It's right across from Meridian Mall. And so it made a very visible demonstration of what the township was doing. And I only think one person came in to complain. They thought it didn't look very nice. And, you know, and so we got very positive response. Now, one thing too that happened was there was some little discussion about without any fencing or anything, would there be any security issues? Well, it is a very visible corner, and the police department is right kind of behind the solar panel. So we were pretty comfortable that we wouldn't have to worry about anybody walking off with our panels. And then, we did the fire station, which you see to the right at the top there. And then at the bottom there is that small system at the farmer's market. And one thing that's, again, nice about that system, as small as it is that it's very visible. We got a lot of people at the farmer's market. And actually, we had a table there on October 2nd, the solar home tour. Meridian Township did a virtual tour and also a drive-by. There's no interaction between homeowners and visitors. But it was real nice to be able to have a table there and to kind of show people the system kind of right behind the table, the 4 kilowatt system, well, almost 4 kilowatts. So we got the chance to talk about 40 people. And actually that we were kind of following the example of Dave Strensky, who's been at his farmer's market every solar home tour for, I think, quite a few years now. And it was a real good opportunity to kind of interact with people and kind of answer their questions. And the last picture is what you see there, the top of our service center, which is that 142 kilowatt system, which should provide about 100% of that power. So that's the last slide. So, be happy to take any questions people have. I went through that pretty quick.
Jon, thank you so much for all you're doing here. We do not yet have a system, but we're studying. And I just, this is more of a general question though. What are the panels doing to home insurance, and what are people doing given the cost that's involved in setting up?
Wrote that one about himself, if you've ever seen him.
All those kind of things. Can you say something about the home insurance cost?
Yeah, that's something to check for sure when you install a system. When I was getting my first system, I called up my insurance company and asked them about it, and they said, don't worry about it. So I said, okay, and so I haven't given it any thought and since then. And now that might not hold with other insurance companies. So, like I said, it's something you would want to check. Now, and I think everybody here knows the nice thing about solar is the maintenance is zip, unless you want to kind of pull the snow off. The string inverter, central inverter that I had for my first system, I've been told that they'll probably only last 15 years. And I guess we'll tell because it's been over 10 years now. So will I have to replace it in 5 years? I don't know yet. The micro inverters on my second system, they have a warranty for 25 years. And so I don't expect that I'll ever have to replace those. But I have not with either system, and I've had the one system for over 10 years. I've had no maintenance issues. The only thing, like I mentioned with the first system, was that, that darn pine tree kept growing. And so I ended up getting more and more shading.
Jon, Tom Borton.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, how are you doing? We've got a farmstead, and we have, I've not paid much attention to these options for a long time, but we do have a barn that we need to replace the roof on. It's been on 20 years, and at the south side is the sun is beating it off the shingles off the roof. And so we do need to do a redo. And so we considered maybe putting something on the barn. Now it's a good sized barn. And so, it's a $20,000 or $30,000 job for the roof, and say nothing of any solar. Our concern was keeping it, workable up there in terms of clean and so forth. We've got some walnut trees on the property, and so we get walnut walnuts and leaves and things like that off of stuff. So it's a question of whether we could, do something feasible on that roof. We also, though, have considered moving just south of the barn, and we've got land and on the ground doing a setup there. And just as some of the cases that you have shown today have been on the ground kind of things, we could do that. And it's safe back there, it's on our property, well off the road and things like that. There's nobody around. And so that, I was just curious as to whether you had, experience with the cleaning problem. I guess that was the issue with roof stuff that you've done.
No, I haven't had a problem with that, but of course, I don't have a walnut tree too, and I'm not sure exactly how bad a walnut tree might be. So I have just kind of a typical situation, and the rain has kind of kept it really, really clean. Now in your situation though, ground mount might be a good option because you can then kind of optimize the orientation and maximize the production. The other thing is obviously you don't have to get up on a roof to brush off the snow. And the other thing with ground mounts is you can, if you want to do the seasonal tilting in order to maximize production. So you can kind of relatively simple, kind of tilt the panels by the season. And that would even help you maximize production even more. So, if describing your situation to me, I for sure think I would want to look into getting a ground mount. And, most companies, solar installers would do either and have experience with doing both. So you could get 2 or 3 installers to give you proposals and ask them to give you both options and kind of just look at the economics and the production and kind of make your judgment then. Getting 3 proposals, or at least from different installers, becomes an education as you kind of read over what they're proposing and you get a chance to ask a lot of questions. And the good news is that, there have been people doing this for a long time now in Michigan. And so there's a lot of solar installers. Most of the experienced ones belong to GLREA and are very reputable. So it's
Tom, Wayne Appleyard, I'm sure Wayne put out a new system on his place, and it is a new solar system that literally the solar panels are the roof shingles. So it sits right on the studs, and he's really happy with it. You may want to talk to him about his system and his costs and stuff. He's given I think a solar story here, so you might be able to see that as well on GLRE's website. But he's very happy.
That would be terrific. I could use that on the roof, but
I don't know what system is which one it was or who his installer was, but I've seen his presentation on it, and I know that's exactly why he did it, because he had a roof that needed to be replaced.
Yeah, that would be it's on his solar story is on our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
GLREA YouTube channel.
Okay.
So that's worth listening to Wayne. He's always very informative.
Yes.
And Tom, we can give you Wayne's email address and phone number if you want to talk to him personally as well. That's fine.
Yes.
Good enough.
Yes.
Yes.
John, we have a question from Jennifer.
Hi, this is I don't know if there's going to be a time for general questions to all of the folks who have done this, but I'm just curious about electrical heating. I haven't really heard anyone talk about heating. And I was just wondering if that, is that just not really an option in Michigan to have that work? Or does everyone have use oil for their heating? Or has anyone tried electrical?
Well, actually now there's a big effort underway, or at least discussion in Ann Arbor and Meridian Township about electrify everything, because people who are concerned about climate change are looking ahead to when the grid would be significantly renewable. Right now in Michigan, the electric grid is like 10, 11% renewable, but it moving, especially consumers energy fairly quickly to having a lot of renewable energy, wind and solar. And so what we're talking about in Meridian Township is air source heat pumps or geothermal heat pumps. And Alan Waller later will be talking about geothermal systems, but those are electric systems, and they have the advantage of, in addition to providing heating, also providing cooling, because that's what heat pumps do. They provide heating in the winter and cooling in the summer. So certainly, especially if do you have oil right now?
Yes.
Gas.
Well, no, gas. I'm sorry, gas.
Oh, gas. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the economics are now in Meridian Township, we're only suggesting that people replace their heating system when something breaks. You know, if your natural gas furnace is working fine, just keep it.
Well, we have a boiler, so we have a really old boiler.
Okay. Well, then it's at a minimum, I think what you'll want to do is research air source and geothermal heat pumps, because obviously if it's an older boiler and it could break tomorrow or whatever, you want to be prepared to know which way you want to go, because one thought we're pushing in my township is that you can't wait for the thing to break to figure out what you want to do, and you want to do some research, what the cost would be and the pluses and minuses.
Okay.